Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Everyday Consumer Podcast, where we are here to make sure that you are informed, make sure that you feel safe, and make sure that you can find the best quality protein and produce near you. And today I'm super excited to welcome Hannah onto the podcast. So, Hannah, if you'll just tell us a little bit about yourself, your farm, and anything else you want to say.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. My name's Hannah. I own and operate H2Grow Farms in Page, Texas, which is just east of Austin, like 40 minutes or so. I have everything from seasonal produce to dairy to meats to eggs. I mean, you name it, and I probably do it. I even do seasonal beer and kombucha out here. I mean, there is no end, I swear.
That's how it always feels, right?
Yeah.
There's no end in sight. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you also do a little agritourism too, don't you?
I do. I have a guest house. I call it the bunkhouse. So I have a farm stay, and I also have classes, workshops, events. At least one a month. I try to do as many as I can per month. But yeah, I do it all. I don't know how, but I do it all.
Everyone always asks that question, like, how do you do it all? It's almost like if you don't do it all, you can't do any of it.
Right. It's like, I kind of want to do this, and it's like, this idea is really exciting to me, and it's like, so let's just do it. If it doesn't, you have to learn to fail quickly in this business. It's like, if it's not going to work, like, it's not going to work. You got to figure it out like within a season, or else you're going to lose too much money on it. But yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of talk about the agritourism and the classes that you have.
Sure.
Do you feel like those people that come out to that, are they immersed in the farmer's world? Are they farmers themselves, or is it something that people come out to learn a new skill and they're complete from a city or from a suburb?
I think it's all of the above. I would say definitely the city folk are the ones I get out the most, which is honestly my goal. Like, I prefer that kind of guest to someone who might even dabble or is experienced in doing something and wants to really hone or sharpen their skills. I don't know. I want to teach someone a brand new skill, something that they know nothing about or just think is really cool, especially the city folk, because obviously they're around people and concrete and streets and all kinds of stuff all day, every day. And so those are the kind of people I really want to reach, especially because, those are the people that are so highly concentrated in the city. And so to get them out to the farm, and introduce them to another supplier that they can support, other than a grocery store. So I think that's my favorite kind of guest to have.
Yeah, it's almost like the excitement that they bring ignites the excitement and keeps the flame going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then they tell their friends, and then it's always, so I really like having the city guest out.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you do for your products? How do you market them? Is it, you have a farm store, right? But do you go anywhere else? How does that work for your farm?
So I have just the farm stand on Saturday. So in 2024, I'm working on expanding those hours. But as of right now, it's just on Saturdays from 10 to 1. I am the only staff member. I'm the only person on the farm. And so to do it all is very difficult. But I am hoping to expand hours this year at some point, whether that's just on Saturday, expanding those hours, or expanding it to also being like a Sunday. My vision for the whole thing was more than a farmer's market, less than a grocery store hours. And so it will take me some time to get there, but eventually I will. And I just market at farm stand. I have some kind of like roadside signs that I've made. And then I do all the rest of my marketing through Instagram. And then that's linked to Facebook, of course, because I guess they're one and the same now.
Yeah.
But that's the only kind of form of marketing I do. I don't go to any farmers markets anymore. I don't. It's word of mouth and it's Instagram. So I try to do, you follow, like I try to do the eye-catching stuff. So then people are like, oh, I want to, I feel like I'm invested in this account, in this farm. So that's kind of the whole roundabout way.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Instagram has such a far reach for people, especially like aesthetic. You guys have to follow Hannah, but your aesthetic on cooking and the different types of meats you cure, I'm just always like, holy cow, I want to come out and see everything that you're doing too.
Yeah, it's just I got into this because of food, and so I feel like I need to just showcase all the food. Um and I think doing it as a finished product. I mean, I obviously do like the start to finish, cooking videos, but I think, showing the final product is the most important because I have all the ingredients. And it's like, if you want to come get them and try it yourself, or you want me to teach you directly at an in-person class, and oh, by the way, you don't have to drive home, you can stay here and continue your experience. So that's really what I'm going for.
Yeah, that's perfect. So, how did you get started? What was the vision when you started? Tell us like those first few years, weeks, months. How long have you been doing this?
So I had no, I guess, agriculture background. So I didn't come from farmers. I'm from like dead center of West Virginia. Ever since I was in middle school, I was like, I want to do something with food. And so it was really an obvious choice. So I have a degree in nutrition. Um, and I had applied for a garden internship at the organic farm at my school because like I don't know how to really grow things. I mean, I had like some herbs and like on my deck in school in my apartment, um, but I applied for this internship and they got back to me and they were like, "This is for ag students," and I was like, "Can I not apply?" And they were like, "No, you can. We've just never had anybody outside of the ag program apply for it." So I got it. And so that was 3 months of that garden internship. And that was like the absolute basics, like how to start a mower, how to just what starting seeds was. It was really cool. And then I had to do kind of like a final project linked to my classes and whatever. But that was 3 months. And then I graduated and moved to Texas. And I was at the Central Texas Food Bank for 3 months in like a comparable position there. I was their garden intern. And there I had the idea for my gardening company, H2Grow, hence the name of the farm, where I was going to build and install raised bed gardens for clients in the city because everybody needed to learn how to do all the things that I was doing. And it's beautiful and it's amazing. And you can just have your own food. And so I started looking for property to kind of have a spot to host my greenhouse and kind of like all the equipment I thought I was going to have. And in my head, I thought about it being this like, you order a garden at 10 p.m. at night and it can arrive at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Like it was eventually going to be, that kind of deal. So I bought the farm with that kind of vision in my head. And then COVID hit. So I bought the farm at the end of October in 2019. And COVID hit. And I, at the time, had a sales position also, kind of was saving up money to eventually, start this business while I was working on it on the side. And COVID hit, I got laid off. I was like, well, guess we're starting this business early. So I started installing gardens in 2020. I was doing all the seedlings, I was sourcing all the compost, I was building all the beds. And when I didn't have gardens to install, I was doing things on the farm. So all the starts that needed planted out, I was creating gardens for myself. I was like, well, these need to go in the ground. And then I was like, well, I need chickens. And then to continue the ag exemption, I was like, well, I need cows. And so then all of these things just kept happening. And then when I wouldn't have orders, I was super busy on the farm. And then I was like, oh man, I don't really want to leave the farm. I actually prefer this. And I actually don't like doing garden beds. And actually the customers like kill all their plants and this isn't fulfilling at all. And it's exhausting. I'm just going to do the on farm stuff. And so it just kind of was this whole transition, unbeknownst to me at the time, that I was just moving into all the on farm ag rather than doing gardens for people. And so that's kind of how the farm came to be. Obviously, I kept the name because it was established and it was already an LLC, and why change a good thing? So
Yeah.
that's how the farm happened.
Wow. Okay. Had no idea any of that. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. I can relate because I actually got started in the ag industry through plants too. Um, so is this all that you do right now, or do you have another off farm job?
I don't have another off farm right now. I'm really hoping that 2024 is the year that I can actually make some money for the farm. Everything is in place. It's just now, I guess, keeping up the customer base, and I guess adding to the customer base.
Yeah.
Continuing to do what I do just better and more efficiently, and figuring out what the secret sauce is, which I'm still trying to figure out.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. So it's tough out there, but this is the only gig. I'm full-time farmer.
That's awesome. No, huge kudos to you because a lot of people that I've talked to and a lot of people that I know, they have an off farm job that supplements the
Right.
income. And that's amazing. But when you're doing this full time and it's your only income, it is rough out there. It's nitty gritty.
Oh, it's tough. I know a lot of farmers that have partners, and usually one of the partners has a job.
Correct.
So at least they have something to fall back on. If it's not, part-time, full-time, whatever. But there is another source of, income for them. And so me being the only the only person plus, full-time farm, I mean, I don't really talk about it on Instagram a lot.
Yeah.
There are just many things that I don't talk about on Instagram.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
it's a completely different way of marketing. I feel like sometimes that personal can stay off and it's needed that way, but it's an
Yeah,
interesting, Instagram is interesting.
it really is. It really is. And of course I get the, "Oh, I wish I had your life," and like blah blah blah, and I just don't answer usually because you no, you
You
don't.
have
You
no
don't.
idea.
You don't want it, and you can't do it. I'm sorry, but you can't. I can barely do it, and I'm the toughest person I know. So I don't. Oh,
That's funny. Okay, so of your customer base right now, what is the top question that people ask you, either on Instagram or at the farm store? Like, what is the most common question you get about food?
about food specifically.
Food specifically, local, farm fresh food.
Um, it used to be when I was selling starts at a farmer's market. So when I had the gardening company, which I technically still do, I guess. But when I was just doing the gardening, I was selling starts at a farmer's market, and that's kind of how I got started with that. And I would always be like, because they were city people, and they would be like, "Oh, is this organic?" And that is like a blow and also insulting. And I mean, because they don't know. I mean,
Right.
it's a marketing tactic, it's a trigger word. um and so that was probably the most common question. Now it's probably like, how are you doing all this? But
Yeah.
but that was probably the most common question then, like directly towards the food, or I guess the starts that I was selling.
Yeah. And I feel like, is it organic? Is it non GMO? Or like the top two questions. And you hit the
Mhm.
nail on the head when you said it's triggering, it's insulting. And I don't
Because they
think
don't
people understand why it's triggering or insulting to the farmer. So why do you think that those questions feel that way? Because I feel that way too.
they don't know what it means. I mean, I do like a small little Substack when I have time to do some writing. And I did one on organic, like what does it actually mean? Like what is it? And it seems just kind of like a club for those businesses and companies that can like afford it and be like, "Oh, I can afford, all of these staff members for the organization and the paperwork. And just because it's organic doesn't mean they don't use pesticides, herbicides, doesn't mean it's going to taste better, doesn't mean it's in season, doesn't mean they care about the soil or the ecology, or it doesn't mean they care about anything. It just means that they can increase their price because they can legally say that they're organic. And that is all that it means, is that they can file paperwork and they have money to be able to do that.
You're like giving me goosebumps. That's so true.
Yeah.
And I feel the exact same way, but it's so hard to relate to like the everyday consumer because I feel like everyone who shops at the grocery store is brainwashed.
They are. They don't know. They just don't know.
So like what avenues do you take in your business? How do you think that going from small farmers like you and I and all the other small farmers, how do we bridge that gap?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't have an exact answer. I think that there are several ways. Obviously, like I have a huge education platform on the farm. I think it's just like spewing your deal, but like obviously not in an aggressive way. Just I think you have to show, and if you're doing it through social media like I am, you have to just show like happy animals and like the pollinators and just naturally occurring things that are in the soil, like funguses and worms and other things, like big companies, big ag brands that claim organic, like they can't show any of that, and they won't because they can't. And if the everyday consumer cares, which I don't know if the everyday consumer really does care, I don't know, and that's our purpose, then they would get more involved, and maybe they would email the brand that they really like and be like, hey, could I tour the farm? And they won't let you, I guarantee it. But you come out to a small farm, I will show you everything. You can open every barrel, every bin, every little thing. You can see the animals, you can touch them, hold them. Like, I don't know, I think it's just showing the transparency, making it obvious.
Yeah.
So you don't have to say words. Just if they look happy, like the animals are happy and they're healthy. So I don't know.
And I know it's such like a big feat. It almost feels like sometimes it's like directly on our shoulders, or I feel that way. I don't know about you. Do you feel that sometimes that load is on your shoulders of having to be so transparent and getting difficult questions from the consumer, or do you just kind of like stay in your own lane and let the people who want what you have come to you?
I do let the people just come to me. I will answer questions that people have, even like controversial, opinions and questions. I'll talk about. I don't necessarily feel like the weight is on me. I don't feel like it's a weight. I almost feel like, I mean, it's kind of a blessing because I have the ability and the knowledge to execute this as well as educate on it. And so it's more of a gift than a weight, I think. And it will make a difference, whether it's one person or 500 people or more. I know I have affected, the way that people eat and the way that people buy. And if it's, maybe if it's not every day, it's certainly once a day or once a week that they come out to the farm stand and they're getting whatever they're getting from me. So even that little bit of change, because I mean, I understand people who don't live on a farm and have 50 paces access to whatever they want out in the garden, like they just go to their local grocery store. Like I get it.
Yeah.
But it's just how do you get them to really care and understand that that's not the way? I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's awesome how you said that, because sometimes I need like a kick in my ass. Like, you need to calm down. It's not a burden. It is a blessing. You're right. And like switch your mindset to that. You're awesome. That's something that I most definitely needed to hear. And also I think other people needed to hear, especially consumers, that there are small farmers who are taking this as a gift, and they should acknowledge that. And if they're willing to choose and value how you raise animals and things, then they should do that.
It's also farmers are not in this to make money. You don't get into ag for money. And like I'm rich in many other ways, and I'm very fulfilled as a person. But I'm not doing any of it for money or for recognition or for anything. I just want to grow the best food that I can for myself, for others. It's it. I happen to enjoy doing it. Like, and that's it. That's all I want. And so for a farmer who's doing it out of the pure love of doing it, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better like steward of your food. Like, there is so much love in the food that I grow. I wouldn't be surprised if it like cured cancer, truly. I mean,
Just
kind of it does. Kind of it does. It could definitely prevent it, but anyway. So yeah, I hope that comes across to people, and who just know me through Instagram, and stuff like that. I certainly, when I talk to my customers at farm stand, I believe that they know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just love what I do, and I don't make any money doing it. In fact, I am very in debt, and that's it. It's fine.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just like,
it's okay if you are, honestly.
relatable.
It's okay.
It's so relatable.
I know. Every farmer is. It's just the sad truth.
And it's one of those things that I want to change and I want to make money, but at the same time, for me personally, and just what you said, we have these beautiful lives and we're super fulfilled. So what else really matters at the end of the day?
Right. And it's like, I'll continue to pay my bills, and it's not like I'm going to buy anything crazy. Would I like to be in a little less debt? Like, sure. But ultimately, I'm not going to lose the farm. Like, I'm not going to lose all the things that I've built. I'm just going to keep going. And I'm a happy person. I'm healthy. I'm happy. The people directly around me, which are cats and cows,
And people on Saturdays.
Yeah, they're directly, fulfilled through what I can provide for them. So it makes the lack of funding worth it. The lack of money worth it, in my opinion.
No, I agree completely. Would I like to have a couple more commas in the bank? Maybe, but that's not what we're here to do. I really feel like the word steward, like, that's what we're here to do. And that's all we can do.
Yeah. I mean, it's my calling. I don't know about you, but it's like the reason I'm on the earth.
Yeah.
Is to grow food. Like, that's it.
Do you think that, do people around you think that you're crazy for what you're doing?
So,
or have you had people say that?
I think I say it about myself more often than anybody else would say it, but I also say it to my very best friend who is also a farmer, and she says the same thing. So it's really just like we're going in a circle, just being like, oh, I'm crazy. No, you're not crazy, but I'm the same type of crazy. So like, how would I actually know? So I don't know. I think when I had more city friends, kind of when I was in the beginning of the farm, when I was kind of making the transition like out of the city, which I was only there not even a full year. I was there for like 5 months, 6 months maybe. and I would kind of explain my day or what I was dealing with versus like the things that they are dealing with. Like they can't, they might have thought that I was crazy because like what are you
It's
talking
so
about?
different.
Like, yeah, so your problems versus my problems, like they probably thought I was crazy. And I'm sure people have before. Maybe not said it, but I'll say it because it's fine. I know I am. I live I live on a farm by myself with all these animals. Like I know. It's fine.
I feel like crazy is such a good term as a farmer. I feel like we're crazy in love with nature. We're crazy in love with the symbiotic relationship we have. I just
You have
asked
to
that
be.
certain question about, do people think you're crazy? Because at the beginning of our conversation, like, people have asked you, how do you do all this? And so that's kind of what I'm relating
Yeah.
to. How do you do all this? Like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely have caught myself being really crazy. I'll be yelling at animals when things aren't going right. Like I'm just like yelling. Like I just I yell throughout the day, and that's pretty crazy. But that's just how I like release my like what I need to get out. And does it help? Like I don't know, maybe a little bit. Definitely scares some people, but I
The
don't know.
cows get back in the fence or the pigs do. I know
No,
today we had some pigs out and there was a lot of name calling, and then I got them back in. I was like, I'm sorry for what I said to you.
I say that to them all the time. I always like at the end, I always like pet them and I'm like, I'm so sorry that we had to do that. And then I called you those names. If you're just better next time, we won't have to do that. And
If you
it's
just
just
listen to me.
then they never do. Oh my gosh, today all the cows got out. It was raining. It
Oh,
was just a
no.
disaster. It's fine. They're all
Yeah.
mad at me right now, but it's
And
fine.
at the end of the day, it's all fine.
Yeah. Yeah,
Are
it was
are
a
you
big one.
milking a couple times a day? So like, tell us a little bit about your dairy aspect of what you're doing, because that's
Yeah.
a really hot
So
topic and trend right now is raw milk.
it really is. And even just like big milk, I guess, is back. Like, I don't know. I tend to hit, I don't know how I do it, but I tend to like be just ahead of a trend. So, like, right before COVID, I bought a farm and then I was like sick. I was on a farm and I didn't have to deal with like the city. And I like, so how did I call them off brand jerseys? Because I got them on Craigslist when I first got started.
Love it.
Off brand in the sense that like such low producers, the best cows, like really, really good cows. I raised them since they were like 6 months. Just like the lowest producers. You like beef cows would probably give more milk. But I love them so much. And so that's how I got started. I, bred them on the farm. They had their first babies on the farm. I milked them for the first time on the farm, just very low producers. And so then I got an actual dairy cow. Like I call her my Ferrari cow because she was expensive. She's A2. She's purebred registered Jersey. She's even AI'd with a heifer for July. I'm really excited for that. Yeah, I
Yay!
know. I don't love AI, but I mean, I bought her like that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I'll accept it. So she's actually her production decreased this past week, and so I'm currently milking twice a day, trying to get the production back up. But usually I just hand milk. I hand milk once in the morning. But I'm trying to get the production back up, so I'm doing twice a day right now.
Yeah.
And she's great. Her name is Coco. And I'm just giving her hay and alfalfa during milk time, which I'm really grateful that she enjoys just hay and alfalfa for several reasons. I don't really like to grain any of my cows. They're food motivated, and so if I have to like to get them back in a pen or something, I will, but I don't grain any of them. I've never grain finished any of my beef cows. I don't like to grain them during milk time, and so I'm really glad that she's fine on just hay and alfalfa. Plus, it's way less money
Yeah.
than having to buy a dairy ration. And yeah, and then I've got several people on my herd share plan, and that's going very well.
Good.
yeah, it's been a really nice source of revenue for me, and it's helped me pay for the cow, which is the entire point. And then I created a second tier for the herd share. So I'm calling it, the second tier herd share plan. And it's only for the value added dairy products that I'm producing every week. So butter, buttermilk, yogurt, cheeses, ice creams. I'm doing special desserts on Saturdays made with, dairy, and that's also been awesome. So first, for individuals or families who don't necessarily drink milk or want to buy milk, can't, really buy into the full plan at the time, they still have a smaller buy-in, and then they are choosing what they want to get from the farm stand every week. They're still signing the herd share agreement. They're still, fully aware that they're like a part of this program, that it is raw milk. But it allows way more people to be a part of it. And I get to share it with more people. And it's been, again, a really nice source of revenue for a farm stand.
That's awesome. Yeah, you always want something like that. And I love how you call Coco a Ferrari, because I feel like dairy cows that are legit dairy cows are like Ferraris. Everything is more expensive. They operate that way. Like, they need to eat that way. It's insane. But I love that you call her a Ferrari, because we always say that. We're like, we could have sports cars, but we have dairy cows.
You could totally call them sports cows. I actually love that. You should totally coin that term. I love that.
Because that's what they are. They're high maintenance, but they're just beautiful and regal and awesome.
And they produce the most amazing milk you've ever had in your life.
Yes. Delicious.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that trend in like raw milk. What do you think about that? Okay. What do you think about the Texas laws? Do you think they're going to change?
I don't know if they'll change. Of course, I would like, everybody to be able to access raw milk. I think, again, with the Substack articles that I write when I have time, I did one on raw milk. And do you know the history of raw milk and why it's illegal and why people are scared of it?
I don't know why the history. I know the history of pasteurization, but I don't know the history of raw milk. Tell me. Let's tell people.
So Industrial Revolution, right? Like, everybody's flocking to the cities, densely populated people. We got lots of people, and they need beverages. And so the most popular beverages are spirits and milk. And so they have these distilleries, these breweries and distilleries, and they put dairy cows in the breweries and distilleries. They're feeding them the spent grain, which is fine, except they're keeping them in the distilleries and the breweries. No access to light, no pasture. Disgusting. And so, of course, before like sanitizing, before like germ theory, it's you can imagine. I mean, just absolutely terrible. This is also when like food additives came to be. So they're adding like bleach and like other things to the milk to make it smell and look like it should. And so they're then delivering milk to customers that rely on milk to feed their children, feed their families, and even though it looks and smells a little off, they feed it to their babies anyway. And so then infant mortality rates for the next 4 years are increased 20 to 30%. Like, insane.
I think it was like 50% of infants died during that time period. And then they created pasteurization.
Right. And so then, I mean, I would be scared of raw milk too. Like that, because I mean, like, milk was raw milk. Like, it wasn't branded like raw milk. It was just milk.
It was milk, yeah.
I mean, there were no hand washing, no teat washing. There was no sanitizing of, I mean, it just blows my mind. That, anyway.
Like, who was the guy who was down there and was like, this is fine? Because I know when I clean teats, there is mud and sometimes poop and feces on there.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that was like, yeah, this is cool. Just keep milking.
Who thought I'm not going to wipe this off? Who thought, like, let's just have this crusty cow patty on all of these teats? And, oh, I just went to the bathroom. I'm not going to wash. I'm going to wipe with my hand. And then I'm not going to wash my hand. And then I'm going to, I just lost my mind.
I know. Humans, man.
And so because of those idiots who, I mean, I guess they couldn't have known that they were idiots because that didn't exist. But anyway, so people are terrified of milk. And I totally understand why, but there is no reason to this day that people should be afraid of raw milk. If you know your source, if you trust your source, you should not be afraid of raw milk at all. It's kind of ridiculous. And people don't know why they're supposed to be afraid of it. They're like, oh, I've just, they don't know anything about it. They can't tell you anything. They just know that
reaction right there, just like no words, like, no thanks. They don't know.
Don't
know. They're just scared.
Yeah. And why? I don't know. The same reason that people think organic is better.
Yeah.
They don't know. Nobody knows. They just follow the trend, follow what they're supposed to believe. I don't know.
No, 100%. And that's why, like, kind of, it boils down to us being transparent, knowledgeable about what we're doing, obviously clean and safe for our farm. And then just like everyday people who shop with local farmers or the grocery store, I think it's just their values and how they want to choose to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the most I can do is be like, I can tell you exactly how this thing was raised, how it was processed, how it's kept in the freezer, and how to cook it. And that's all. Can you say that for the 6 things of meat you just bought that you're probably going to throw away?
For real.
And yeah, food waste is a whole other topic, but
it's awful. Oh my God. I sometimes, because right now we're building our house, and so we're in our camper while we're doing that. So I'm a paper plate mom right now. Don't shame me, because I'm not gonna be a paper plate mom whenever the house is done. But oh my gosh, a sack of trash a day from a family of 4. When we go to the grocery store and we open all these packages, like, what has this become? Fruit in cups?
Yeah,
it's insane.
It's totally crazy. It's totally crazy. Talk about food waste. There was an industrial poultry factory. Did you see that? Where the 2 chicken houses caught on fire in Bryan, Texas.
Yeah,
it's actually just up the road from me. Talk about food waste. Millions of chickens.
It's insane.
Sorry, I'm like flip-flopping between like topics.
No, I love it. Okay, but let me think for a second. Those were laying hens or meat birds?
Meat birds.
Oh, shoot. All I could think about when I seen the news was, oh my gosh, that infrastructure and all those millions of dollars of animals in there. Like, I know the animals suffer, but I'm like, as a farmer, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to have to rebuild every single thing. That's awful. But that keeps happening, right? Like with the egg farms and meat farms.
I talked to my friend a little bit about this, and it kind of like sparked all kinds of crazy. Here's the craziness in my head. I'm not a conspiracy person. Like, I don't do theories. But every couple months, there is an industrial livestock explosion or fire. None of the staff members are hurt, but there is millions of dollars of livestock lost. Thinking about that, if there is a surplus of, say, corn that a farmer produces, the government tells them to destroy their crop to keep prices where they are. The way that Americans eat and waste, could there be some kind of correlation between there being excess food and prices, wanting to keep them where they are? I don't know. I can't Can't say. I just think that the food system is not right. I think there's a lot of corruptness, and I would not be surprised if there was some of that happening. I don't know. It seems pretty odd that it keeps happening to all of these big ag places every couple months.
And what I can relate to is like, I'm usually around my animals or very, very close to them at almost all points during the day. So as far as no humans getting hurt, I don't want humans hurt.
Right,
but
of course.
That's very interesting that out of all these catastrophes, no humans have been hurt.
It's just the lives lost of the animals.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so my brain is like spinning a million miles a second right now because I'm thinking just this week the cow prices, did you see them? They were like $3.84 on live. Like that's insane. That's so high.
What is that gonna do to chicken? I don't know.
Well, it's all related because there's main people who are controlling it all.
Well, there was the I think it was October, November, the cow, I don't know where that one was. But there were cow houses, or were they, I don't think they were salons. I don't think they were milk stations. I think it was beef. Do you remember?
In the big farms.
That just happened at the end of this past year. I mean, it's every couple months that something is, and if it's not somehow intentional, then we need to reconsider the way we keep animals.
Right.
Well, not you and I, but the industry. Okay, do you want to, if these are going to keep happening and if it's not intentional, do you want to keep losing all of these lives when they're contained and they cannot escape? Like,
it makes me question how they're raising animals, which we should have already been questioning. Although, like, I have like these really wild and vivid thoughts about just regular ag and people who are farming, commodity farming. Like, I understand how that's needed in the world, but then when you compare it to these catastrophes and then what people actually think about their food, like, it's all just so messed up. The food system is just so absurd.
it's so screwed up. It's insane.
Even though I'm a farmer, like, even when I shop at the grocery store, sometimes I'm like, which one do I buy? Seriously, do you ever think that?
I don't go to the grocery store
at all.
No, I'll get once a month, and I will order it because I do not go to the grocery store. I will get my flour, my salt, my sugar, my staples, the things that I need that I can't grow or have failed to grow. I will order to the farm.
All hell, Hannah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't do it. Yeah.
And that goes back to like people, everyday people, you and I choosing, knowing your values and knowing what you're going to do with those values. And you're not going to shop in the grocery store because of what you believe and what you can grow in your knowledge.
I also just like have everything that I need. Like, and if I don't have it, like, I can make it or substitute, or, I mean, I have every meat I could ever want. I have meat with every meal because I need to have meat to feel full. I have a carb, which I either, buy like bulk rice, or I have bread that I make, and then I order, flour when I get flour. And that's pretty much it. Like, the probiotics and the good stuff, like, I make kombucha, like, I have my own yogurt that I do. Sourdough starter. I mean, I'll splurge on some cheeses that I can't do, but I want to learn someday. Like, oh my gosh, like the last order that I did, I needed some blue cheese. I love blue cheese, and sometimes I just crave blue cheese. And so I got that with my 10 bags of flour.
It's the flour lady again. So, have you dabbled into any cheeses with the raw milk?
Yes, I have. I since production was low this week, I'm starting a cheddar next week. It'll be my first like semi-hard cheese.
I was about to say
But
soft or hard. Yeah.
yeah, like I have the wax, I have the mold. I'm really excited. I've mozzarella is like there is so much technique to mozzarella. And I don't know if I'm like doing something wrong. I've tried many times and I just cannot get it a soft texture. It's always a little bit like chewier, more rubbery than I want it. And so I keep trying, but to get like believe it or not, I haven't waited yet because I haven't perfected it. To get one that fits like perfectly in a 16-ounce container, it takes a whole gallon of milk. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. Eventually it'll be worth it, but I haven't. And then there's like the farmer's cheese and ricotta and creme fraiche. Like I've done, you know. Do you do clabber?
I don't.
Okay. I was
I
curious.
so we've gotten the mozzarella. The first time we did mozzarella, it was very stringy. We turned it actually into little pieces of string cheese and we fried them. They were delicious.
That sounds amazing.
But ours was like that too. It was really stringy and more stretchy than it was supposed to be in a ball. And the second time we did that, we just did it with curds because I couldn't get it perfect.
So I thought that I figured out a super clever trick, but I don't know if it was super clever. So when you're doing it between like the rennet lemon juice whey and then the water, if you go back and forth, because it's obviously the hot water, you need it to melt it so you can stretch it, but then it's too hot to actually handle. If you go back and forth, I found that it was successful in the stretching, but then like after it cooled, it wasn't like I thought I did it and then it didn't turn out successful. But man, it is an art. Mozzarella is an art.
Cheese is such an art.
It really is.
Cheese is one of my favorite foods.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My dad actually told me about they were breeding they were called hojos, the cows. Are you familiar?
Well, I'm thinking Hojo, so Holstein and Jersey, right?
Exactly. Yeah. My dad read this like Wall Street Journal article and he told me about it. He's like, have you heard of the bovine term Hojo? And I was like, no. So apparently like cheese, and I guess butter is second to cheese, is like an absolute, like has exceeded all charts and maps. Like cheese is it. And like we all know cheese is it. But like
absolutely.
So they're now trying like crosses between Holsteins who have the gallons versus the Jerseys who have the fats. So they're trying the crossbreeds now, and I was like Jerseys are also way sweeter than Holsteins. Like I don't know how that'll, but I don't know. They're trying to figure out the key to cheese via breed of cow. So
I would say that they just need to keep making cheese the way that they are and leave it alone because cheese is already good.
Cheese is already good. They just want to be able to get more, I guess, from one cow. I don't know.
Yeah, no, because again, it takes a gallon to make a very small ball mozzarella. And that's really cool that you did the second tier to your herd share because a lot of people are asking me like, oh, well, what about cheese and butter? And I'm like, you guys, it takes 2 gallons of milk for me to make this amount of butter. I just got to sell the milk at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very lucky. Coco has a fantastic cream line on her milk. And so all of my herd share customers who get milk, they get a really nice cream line, but I also go and I skim. So I'm getting maybe like a gallon and a half to 2 gallons, maybe plus of cream a week.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really lucky that I can make all the butter that I'm producing. So it's been really nice.
And butter's so yummy.
Butter, oh my God.
Anything, just milk.
We love dairy. I'm a big dairy girl. Huge dairy girl.
I think if I could come back in another life, I would totally want to live on a dairy growing up, and I would want to operate like a badass dairy, like the big, huge ones. I would love to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be think like Blue Hill Farm in New York.
I don't know them, but there's one that we follow in
Oh,
South
okay.
Carolina, called Milky Way. It's probably the same. They actually do raw milk, but they do. Or what's the one in California that's the largest raw milk seller ever?
I don't know.
You should look them up. That they're like them. They have
Oh. I
nailed.
probably
You know who I'm talking about, but I just don't know the name right now.
I probably do. As soon as you say their name, I'll be like, "Oh, duh." But
No, I'm not going to say their name because I forgot. But
it's fine.
but like they've hit the mark for supplying raw milk all over California and doing it legally and clean.
Well, also California can do raw milk legally, so whatever.
Lucky.
Yeah,
I think it's
just
going to change. I think they're going to lift the herd shares and the memberships and things like that. They've got to. There's a lot of pressure.
I probably, but it is nice, I will say, to have the buy-in be a part of it. I mean, it's also fun for the customer because they have some ownership of it. And it's even more valuable to them because they have to pay that buy-in price. And it's so helpful. Like it's so helpful. Like it actually goes to buying the cow and paying for the cow.
Right.
And so I can't say that I hate it. Do I wish that I could distribute raw milk to everybody? Yes, absolutely. I wish everybody, could try it. And if they want to take some home with them, that they totally can. And then I can make money for it,
Yeah.
And I don't have to say distribute, I can say sell. So that would be very nice. But
and that just comes down to, like, for me in my mind, that just comes down to dollars. And so then it goes back to, well, I really like doing this just because it makes me happy. I like to drink it and I like to share it with others. So I'm super comfortable with the herd shares too. I absolutely love it because it's a different type of relationship with dairy customers than it is with meat customers. I don't know. You feel that way too?
Yes, absolutely. I
It's
absolutely
very
do.
personal.
It really is. Like I had someone last week who just signed on, and he's getting 2 gallons a week, and he's just a single person. And I of course I just met him for the first time, and I was like, what's the deal? And he's like, I grew up, my grandparents had some dairy cows, and I would go every summer to visit them in Mexico, and I love the milk, and I go through like so much, and I've not been able to find the nostalgia of milk. And so when I saw your program, I had to sign up because I miss that. I miss, being able to go out and hang out with the cows and then being able to have the best milk.
Yeah.
So that in itself was just, it was really cool. So it's nice that I can be able to provide that for people.
Yeah. Do you do glass jars or plastic?
Glass jars.
I was about to say, I probably know the answer, but I have to ask.
Glass jars. I do. Actually, so here's my I have a clean one. This is my half gallon. This one happens to have a metal lid. I prefer the plastic ones. This is just for my personal, like, I'll bring cream inside. Yeah. But this is the half gallon. I prefer the wide mouth just because it's easier for cleaning. If someone requests like 2 half gallons instead of 1 gallon, like I would do that, but no one's ever complained. If they want to put them in a smaller jug when they get home, they can. But I'm already doing the most. And so the milk dishes, I don't know if you feel me on this, but the milk dishes, especially doing it twice a day right now, is just, it's killing me. And so
see, paper plate mom, because I don't need no more dishes.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I go wide mouth glass jar. It's the easiest to clean. It's the easiest to sanitize.
Same.
Yeah. So if no one's had a problem with it thus far, but
I feel like everyone likes it. I actually mentioned to a couple customers because I found a really good source for plastic. I don't want to use it, but the plastic jugs, they're like 25 cents if you find a good source.
Right.
And all my customers now are like, no, I don't want to change. And I'm
Yeah.
like, fair, cool. It's your choice and my choice. So we'll keep using glass.
Yeah. I mean, I think they also feel good about returning their jars. And they feel like, they're cutting down on waste, and I mean, I'll clean a batch as I need them. I don't do them all at once. I just,
Yeah.
I'll clean, 5 or 6, and then I'll use them, and then I'll clean 5 and 6, whatever. Yeah. So I really like it. And then I put, tape on it with the cocoa and the date, and glass is great. If you get them from Uline, they're not expensive.
Yep. And I feel like Uline and Walmart are the best. And I'm the same with you. I use the plastic. We were using the regular ball mason jar and lids, but I found that they kept rusting, and no matter how much you scrubbed or anything,
Yep.
and then it gets on the jar. And if you want to drink shit out of the jar, you don't want rust in your mouth.
Yep. Plastic lids are good. The metal ones always rust, and then it's just I don't want to even have to worry about there being any kind of contamination after being so sanitary with everything else that I'm doing, and then the rust just like ruins. I'm like, come on, man.
I know. Yeah, so just stick to plastic so it doesn't do that. Okay, well, I'm like super aware of your time, and we've been going for a while. We got to go all over the place, and I loved it.
I know, it was good. It was a good one.
I love chatting. Okay, but I'm going to ask you 2 more questions before we leave, and they're easy ones. So, what is the biggest 2024 goal you have for yourself in the farm?
To make money. Not a lot. I don't expect a lot. I just want to be able to comfortably pay the bills that I already have. Pay the mortgage, pay the credit card bills, pay the utilities. I just want to be able to comfortably do that every month, not stress about it. Just know that the money is there and I can pay it. That's it.
Yeah. And Jerry's going to help you get there.
Yes, it will. It really, really will. I had this vision, and now it didn't exist, and now it's happening. So it's really cool.
That's another beautiful thing about her chairs. It's like, if you're a good steward of your animal and cleanliness and things like that, you can make it happen like that.
Yeah. I mean, and I got practice on my off-brand jerseys. Got a lot of practice on my off-brand girls.
They make you work, huh?
Oh my gosh.
And now you have the Ferrari, and she probably just drops the milk for you.
You have no idea. It's amazing. It's one of the biggest differences. Like, her letdown is just, I'm like, oh, you can just milk yourself. Great.
Yeah, you could just put the pail up to her. That's crazy, because if anyone knows anything about jerseys, and maybe you too, or milk cows, like, it takes a lot, or maybe 2 to 3 weeks to get used to them. They don't let down for you at first, and they reserve their milk and thing. And so it's a really beautiful relationship between farmer and cow too. Or that's what I felt. Do you feel that way too?
Definitely. She was so mad at me today because I put a halter on her for the first time, and she got out, and I was chasing her around, and I was pulling her by her halter on a lead rope. Oh my gosh. I wouldn't be surprised if she runs.
And you called her some names?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she runs away. But
don't say that, because it's about to start raining for like 2 days. Don't run away.
She won't run away. She'll be fine. She's got electric around her.
She'll be fine. Okay, cool. I hope that comes to fruition in 2024. I think that it will.
Me too. I have faith. I have faith that it will.
I think that 2024 is a big year for people to shop local and trust their farmers a little bit more. So that's going to happen. Okay, and the last one is, how are people going to find you? Website, Instagram. Tell people how to find you.
Yes. So my website is H2Grow.co. It's not .com. It is .co. H2Grow.co. And the farm's Instagram is H2Grow.co. But the posting I do the most is on my personal, which is just Hannah Gongola. Gongola spelled Gongola.
Perfect.
What's that?
And we'll tag you too whenever we upload the video.
Okay, cool.
We'll tag you in all your Instagrams and the website and things, like when we do that.
That would be great.
So awesome. Anything else you got to say?
Drink some milk. I drank some milk right before I got here.
Got milk?
Yes. Yes, I do. I've got a lot. It's delicious.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Everyday Consumer Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye, Hannah.
Thanks, Stephanie.